Today we are entering the attention economy, where the ability to capture people's attention by creating content is more valuable than ever. So if you want to learn how to edit videos with Final Cut Pro, then you came to the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you all the basics that you need to know to get started editing with Final Cut Pro. Hope you guys are going to enjoy, and let's get straight into it. So when you first open up Final Cut Pro, this is kind of what you are going to be greeted with. The first thing you need to do is to create a new project for your videos. So the way that Final Cut organization works is you have first libraries, and inside of that you have events, and then inside of events you can create different projects which are going to be the individual videos that you are editing. Here we have a new project button, so if we click on that, then we can name our project. So I'm just going to name this one tutorial, but you can name it whatever you want. And then here you can select which event you want it to be inside of, which is an event is kind of like a folder basically. So I'm just going to leave it as this one that it created for me automatically. You can select the resolution here. So I'm going to leave it at 1080p HD, but I'm going to change the frame rate to 24 frames per second, which is kind of like the cinematic standard. Now, as for rendering, I like to leave it as Apple ProRes 422. For audio, you want to leave the standard. Okay, so then once you're done with that, you can click OK. So moving on to the next step, we want to now import our footage and music to our project so we can start editing it. Now, before we would even go and import the actual footage into Final Cut, I highly recommend you to organize everything into a couple separate folders. I like to create a folder for my sound effects, one for my B-roll, and one for my music. Now, after you're done with this, you can go ahead and drag and drop your folders into this space right here. And you can see now I was able to import all the footage that I had inside of my B-roll folder into this project, and I'm going to do the same thing with the music, the song that I want to use as well, and also I'm gonna import these sound effects too. So let's do a real quick overview of the software and how it works with the layout. So first of all, as you can see on the top left corner, you have this media section where you have all your songs, videos that you have imported into your current project. And here on the very left, you have your libraries, and inside of that you have your folders, your events, and inside of your events you have the projects and any folders you might have. So this is like kind of where you can find everything, your browser. This is where you see your specific videos that you have inside of it. And then if you click on something on the right part, you are going to have all the editing settings for it. If you click on this little color thing, you will see the different settings to change the exposure, the saturation, or the colors of that certain video. If you click on this eye, you can see all the information about the certain footage that you have selected. Now, if we go down here, you are going to have all your effects here that come with Final Cut Pro by default. And if you click on this little thing here, you are going to see all the different transitions that you have installed into your Final Cut. And then obviously in the middle right here, you have the playback menu where you can watch back the certain part of your timeline, or you can watch back any clips from your library. So there is that. And then here we have a couple more tools. So overall, I would say Final Cut has a very clean layout, and it's pretty simple and beginner friendly compared to some of the other editing softwares. Now you can either just put your footage to your timeline by simply dragging and dropping it down there, or you can also, as you can see, you can also preview your footage by dragging your cursor here. And if you want your footage to actually start from here, for example, you can press I on your keyboard to set an in point, and then you can press O where you want it to end, and then you set an O point. And as you can see, now it highlighted the part that is selected in yellow, and then I can just drag and drop simply that part. So you can see with this method, I only imported into my timeline this part that I selected, and with the other method I import the whole file, and then later on I can actually, you know, drag it down or cut it down here on my timeline. Final Cut Pro uses the magnetic timeline feature, which if you have used iMovie in the past, it's going to be familiar for you, but if you're switching from Premiere Pro or something else, it might be very weird for you. So basically with the magnetic timeline, if I were to go and drag a clip between these two, as you can see, it just snaps together, like all the files snap together. And this can be a bit weird in the beginning, but once you get used to it, it's going to make your editing a whole lot faster, in my opinion, than other softwares. So I quite like this. And you can see if you want, you can also stack the files on top of each other. It doesn't really have like video 1, video 2, video 3 track like in Premiere Pro, for example. But I think this is, you know, just as easy, if not easier to use than that. Now, as for importing music onto your timeline, you can still use the in and out functions to only import a certain part of your music to your timeline, or you can just drag and drop it like this. So talking about music, that brings us to the sponsor of this video, Epidemic Sound, who were kind enough to support this video. I have been using Epidemic Sound for almost 5 years at this point, and in my opinion, they are the go-to platform for royalty-free music licensing, because instead of having to license your songs one by one and, you know, potentially even paying thousands of dollars to license individual songs for your personal projects or client projects, you can just pay a flat fee for their service, which is pretty affordable, and you get unlimited amount of song downloads and sound effect downloads as well. They have a huge library of very, very high quality sound effects and songs, and they keep updating their catalog every single week. So for the next 5 days with their amazing Cyber Week special, you can get your first month for free, and then the second and third month for 75% off. Now, this is only available for the next 5 days and only for the personal plan, but this is truly an amazing, you know, offer. I don't know, you know, if they're ever gonna do something like this. So if you have been thinking about trying out Epidemic, I highly recommend you to go ahead and click the link in the description below to give it a try. You know, if you don't like it, you can still cancel your subscription, and all the videos that you have used their songs on throughout the time you were trying out the service are still not going to get flagged on YouTube. So go ahead and click the link in the description below to try out Epidemic. And Epidemic, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Now, going back into Final Cut, I wanted to talk a little bit about music and how you can change the volume of your songs, because this is something, you know, that you are going to do probably very frequently. So first of all, you can, you know, go ahead and zoom into your timeline a little bit more, either by just using your fingers on your trackpad if you're using a MacBook, or by clicking Command and plus minus on your keyboard. And as you can see here, the song has this little white line, and you can drag it and either, you know, lift it up or drag it down. And as you can see, it says there minus 15 decibels, for example, or minus 17 decibels. So this is one way you can change the volume of it, by clicking on that little white line and dragging it up or down. Or you can also go ahead, click on it, and go up here in the right top right corner to volume, and then you can manually input the volume that you want to have your song on. Okay, so now that you have a good idea about some of the main parts of the software interface, you know how to, you know, actually import clips into your timeline, you know how to import music into it, you know how to change the volume of the music. Now I'm going to show you how to speed up or slow down your footage, because that is also something that you are going to be doing probably pretty frequently. So there are a couple ways to do it. One of them is to, you know, highlight the actual clip that you want to slow down or speed up, and then you go to this little hour thing, and then here you can select either, you know, slow, and then they have these presets of 50% or 25 or 10%, or you can go to fast, or you can change it to normal speed, or you can even hold the certain frame that you are on with your, you know, cursor right now. Or you can set a custom speed as well. So let's just say I want to slow it down to 50% for now. So I'm just going to click on that, and as you can see, it slowed down my clip to 50%. Now, I can also go ahead and now drag this clip by the end of it and speed it up by dragging it, you know, this way to the left, or slowing it down even further by dragging it to the right. So this is, again, very like intuitive in my opinion, very easy to use. And you can also reverse your clip by clicking on this little speedometer icon here, or you can reset the speed of it to normal as well. And so on. There are also a couple other, features here like rewinding. In this video, I'm not going to go super deep into those because I just want to cover all the basics for now so you can get started editing. And if you guys want to see more of these videos, I will make some more videos in the future about some of the more advanced features of Final Cut. So that is how you can speed up or slow down your footage. There is also a really good keyboard shortcut for it, and that is Control, Option, and R. And that allows you to, then this custom speed, pops up, and then I can just input 150, press return on my keyboard. And as you can see, this is much faster than if you were to, to go to this little icon and then click on this and so on. So that is a great, keyboard shortcut to remember. Control, Option, and then R. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to zoom in or zoom out of your footage, or how to change the positioning of it. So what you want to do for that is to select the certain, clip on your timeline that you want to change the positioning of, or the scale of. So in this case, I'm going to select this one, and then you want to come here to transform. And then, as you can see, you have this scale little slider here. So if I scale it down, then it's going to make my clip smaller. And if I scale it up, it's going to zoom into my footage. Now, if I want to reset it, I can either just click here and put in 100%, or I can click here and reset parameter as well. I'm going to get the same result either ways. And you can also scale just on one axis and then transform your footage like that. But in this case, I'm not going to do that. So that is how you can scale up or scale down your footage. And you can also change your rotation here. So if you want to rotate your footage a little bit to match your horizon perfectly, and then maybe you zoom in a little bit, you can do it just like this. As you can see, I was able to kind of play with my footage a little bit. Or if you want to change the positioning of your footage, I'm just going to reset these two parameters. Then you can click here on the Y and X axes, and you can put in, for example, 500 to the X axis. And as you can see, that moves it to the right, but you can also just hold down on the certain number and then shift your footage wherever you want, like this. And you can use multiple of these at the same time. So for example, if I want to create something where I have half of my screen filled up with this clip, and then on the other side of it I have the ocean clip, then I can just drag the ocean clip on top of this one, as you can see, and then I will move this on the X axis to the left. And as you can see, just like this, I was able to create this kind of like split screen effect in Final Cut. So that is basically the very basics of the transform kind of like feature of Final Cut. Also, another interesting one is the opacity feature. So with the opacity, you are basically changing like how see-through your footage is. So what I mean by that is, on the top I have this clip of the ocean here. So I'm just going to reset these, and now as you can see, you cannot see what's under it at all. But if I change the opacity to, for example, 50%, now it's kind of like half see-through. And if I bring it down all the way, then you can see fully what's under it. And yeah, you can also use this to create some pretty interesting effects. Now, if you want to enable or disable a clip on your timeline, you can just select a certain clip and then press V on your keyboard. So as you can see, now I disabled it, and it's not going to be in your render if you decide to render it. But if I want to re-enable it, I can press V on my keyboard again, and now it's back. Another essential tool that you are going to use a lot in Final Cut is the blade tool. So to get that, you are going to press B on your keyboard, and now this is basically the tool that you can use to cut your footage up. So if I want to make a cut here, I can just click there and then it happens. If I want to make a cut here, click there and then it cuts up. And as you can see, I made 3 separate pieces from this one clip that I had on my timeline. If I want to delete this one, I just select it and then press delete on my keyboard. And if I want to delete this one as well, I can just select it, press delete, and simple as that, I cut out the middle part of the clip. This blade tool can be used for any text as well, you know, any music or sound effects as well, anything like that. So talking about texts, let's move on to how to add some text to your footage, because that's definitely something you're gonna want to do in the future. Go right here on the top left corner and then click on this T icon. And as you can see, you're going to have all the different titles that you have in Final Cut. So you can either choose, you know, any of these. I usually just use the basic title and then customize it. And you can just drag and drop it on your timeline just like that. But there are also a lot of other, you know, different titles that you can use and customize for yourself. They have these continuous ones with different animations as well, you know, these like 3D titles and so on. And you can also download different presets from the internet to use in your project. So yeah, but Final Cut already comes with quite a lot of different, you know, titles that you can use. So now that I have this on my timeline, the next thing I want to do is I can go here on the top right corner to text inspector, and then here I can change the text to whatever I want. So for example, I'm going to change it to Madeira, Portugal, because that is where this footage is from, right? And now if I want to change the font, for example, I can select this text here. I can go here to font and I can change it to, you know, any sort of text I want to. So this one actually looks quite good. So I can select that, and now here at the size, I can scale it up if I want to, right? I can just go back here in the middle and then select the text and move it to wherever I want to. Now, if you are struggling with getting back to the regular cursor, so where you can actually move things around and so on, just press A on your keyboard and then you will get back to this, you know, regular cursor mode out of your text mode or anything like that. Now here you can also change the alignment, like whether you want it to be in the middle, left, right, whatever. You can change the line spacing. So if you are, you know, if you have multiple lines, you can change how much space is between those. You can change the tracking, so like how much space is between every single, you know, letter. You can also change the position of the text here, the rotation, the scale. You can add the drop shadow if you want to here, and here you can change the details of the drop shadow, for example, add some blur to it. And that is how easy it is to add some text, you know, and this is how the text layer looks on your timeline. And you can change the length of it by coming here to the end and then dragging it, you know, clicking on it and then holding onto it with your cursor and then dragging it longer, or you can also drag it and make it shorter. And yeah, that is how easy it is to create a text and then customize it. All right, now let's go a little bit into how to change, for example, the exposure of your footage and the coloring a little bit. So to do that, you want to highlight the clip that you are trying to change the, you know, the exposure or the coloring of, and then you want to come here to exposure. And then here you can see you have your highlights here, you have your midtones here, you have your shadows here, and then there is also this like overall adjustment tool. So you can use the overall one to lift, you know, to make your footage brighter or darker by simply dragging that part. Or, you know, if you want to undo something, like in most softwares, you can click Command Z. Or if you want to redo something, you can press Shift Command Z. So those are just two quick shortcuts for you guys. Or if you want to, you know, just make it more contrasty, for example, your shot, you can just bring down your shadows, right, like this, maybe bring up the highlights a bit. And as you can see, I was able to create this nice, you know, contrast on my footage. Now, if you want to enable or disable the coloring on a certain clip, you can either, you know, go here, and then as you can see now, you created this color board one, and then you can click this, and now I disabled my color ring that I added to it, or I can click it again and re-enable it, so you can see the difference that what I did just made. Now you can double click here if you want to make some more adjustments to your color board. For example, if I want to bring down the saturation a bit, I can just come here and, you know, either change it, either change just the shadow saturation, the midtones, or the highlights, or I can also just bring down this overall slider and change the saturation of everything at the same time. You can also shift the colors of the shadows to a certain color, or the midtones, or the highlights. But this is, again, this coloring part gets a bit more advanced when we go into that. So I'm going to make another video about that in the future if you guys want to see that. But for now, you're gonna be fine with just exposure saturation, in my opinion. Now, if you want to add a color grade or like a LUT to your footage, if you guys don't know, a LUT is a lookup table, which are basically, kind of, to explain it simply, like filters on Instagram, right? What you can do is you can come here to your effects panel, and then here in the search, you want to put in LUT, so LUT, and then you want to drag and drop this custom LUT effect on whatever, you know, footage you want to add the Instagram filter to, which are, you know, obviously it's not that, it's a lookup table, but that's the easiest way to explain it. And then here, as you can see in the effects tab, we have added this custom LUT effect to it. And now here, you're going to have all the different, you know, LUTs that you imported into your Final Cut. You know, normally you won't really have any, but if you search up on Google free LUTs to download, you can find a bunch of different looks that you can import into your Final Cut. And to import it, you basically just click here on Reveal in Finder, and then it's going to open up the LUT folder on your Final Cut, and you just drag and drop your files into this. But if you guys want to see, I can make another tutorial on that. And then here I can just select a certain look that I want to apply to my footage, like this one, for example. And as you can see, I was able to add this color grade in a second and change the whole look of my footage. I can also change the intensity of my LUT here in the mix slider. Going on to some more of the effects. Now here, if you go here into video effects, you can see all the different kind of effects that you can add to your footage. There are so many different ones that I definitely couldn't cover all of them. But for example, if you like this aged film one, I can just go ahead, drag and drop it onto the certain clip that I want to apply it to. And then as you can see, now I have this aged film effect here as well. If I want to delete it from my clip, I can just select it here and then click delete, and now it's gone. But yeah, if you want, you can change all the different settings of it, like how much aged film look you want, and so on, like make so many adjustments to it. So yeah, there are a bunch of cool effects in Final Cut by default that you can add. Yeah, make sure to, check out all the different ones and see which one you like. Going on to transitions. Transitions are basically the things you can put between two different clips and they make a transition between them. So for example, let's say I have these two clips right here, and now it just has this hard cut between the two. So it just goes from one clip to another. But let's say I wanted them to fade in together a little bit more nicely. So to that, I would go into this transitions tab here. And as you can see, I have this cross dissolve transition here, which is like the most popular one. Basically, I can go ahead and drag and drop it between these two. As you can see, it says there's not enough space between the two, but I'm just going to click on create the transition anyways. As you can see, now it applied it. Basically, it just cut down a little bit from the first video. And now you can see I created this transition where it fades in nice and slowly from one clip to another. Now, if I want to change the duration of the transition, I can just go ahead and drag it out to make it, shorter or longer here. There are a lot of other kind of transitions as well. So let me just add one more clip here, for example. Let's just see this transition, for example, the center one. As you can see, I just drag and drop it here in the middle, create transition. And as you can see, it use this very nice like PowerPoint presentation style transition. All right, so now I'm going to use all these different skills that I just went over, and I'm going to combine these to create an example edit for you guys. Then I'm going to show you the results. So let's just do that. once you have done that and you have created your masterpiece, you are going to want to export it and then upload it to YouTube or wherever you want to, right? What you can do is go ahead and click here in the top right corner on this one, and then you click on export file, and then you can set up the settings here. So you just want to have, you know, video and audio as well. Make sure both are included. You can select your video codec, and then after you can name it here as well, whatever you want to, and then you click on next, and then here again you can name it, and then boom. After that, you know, once you selected where you want it to be exported to, as you can see here, now it's exporting it to my desktop, and then I'm going to be done. It's going to be exported in MOV format, which is perfect, you know, for Mac. So that is how simple it is to export your footage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got some value from it. Let me know what you want me to show you next on my channel. And if you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like and check out Epidemic Sound in the description below and try it out. You know, take advantage of this amazing offer that they are running right now. And I will see you guys in the next one.